The grand hall of the Galactic Alliance hub shimmered with light that bounced off the crystalline walls. Beings from 100 worlds mingled, their voices creating a symphony of different tones and languages. In the center of it all stood Commander Davis, his simple blue uniform standing out among the colorful and often elaborate clothing of the other species. "Another successful cultural exchange," said Admiral Gray, approaching with 2 drinks in hand. Though retired from active military service for 20 years, Gray still carried himself with the straight-backed posture of a soldier. "The Alliance seems impressed with our latest art exhibition." Davis accepted the drink with a nod. "Humans have come a long way in 100 years, from warships to art ships. Who would have thought?" Gray's eyes crinkled at the corners as he smiled, but something in his gaze remained alert, watching the room. "Indeed." Across the hall, High Elder Vex of the Star Hunters observed the 2 humans with yellow, slitted eyes. The Star Hunters were tall, muscular beings, with tough gray skin and bony ridges along their foreheads. They had joined the Alliance only 30 years ago, reluctantly agreeing to peace after centuries as feared warriors. "Look at them," Vex said to his aide, a younger Star Hunter named Kor. "Soft, weak. Their hands have forgotten the grip of weapons." Kor nodded, his battle-scarred face showing contempt. "They speak of nothing but art and science. Their warriors now call themselves peacekeepers and cultural liaisons." 100 years ago they were feared, Vex continued, his voice low and rumbling. "Their history is full of war. They fought each other constantly before reaching the stars. Then they fought the Meridian Collective to a standstill. No small feat." "What happened to them?" Kor asked. Vex's mouth curled into what passed for a smile among his kind. "They grew soft, comfortable. They dismantled most of their military after joining the Alliance. Now they build gardens instead of warships. They have forgotten how to fight." In another part of the hall, Ambassador Reed stood before the Alliance Council, a group of elder representatives from the founding worlds. Reed was a tall woman with dark skin and silver hair cropped close to her scalp. Her voice was calm but firm as she addressed the council. "The Earth government has received reports of unusual Star Hunter fleet movements near our outer colonies," she said. "We request the Alliance investigate these activities under the Mutual Protection Treaty." The chair being, a floating entity encased in a transparent globe of pale blue liquid, made a sound like bubbles rising through water. "Ambassador Reed, the Star Hunters have explained that these are merely training exercises. Without concrete evidence of hostile intent, the Alliance cannot interfere with a member's internal military affairs." Reed's expression didn't change, but her eyes hardened. "These exercises have come dangerously close to our research stations. If the Alliance will not act, Earth may need to take precautionary measures." "What measures?" asked the representative from Proxima Centauri, leaning forward with interest. "Earth has maintained minimal defensive capabilities for decades. Your ships are primarily scientific vessels now." Reed smiled thinly. "We prefer peaceful solutions, but we are not defenseless." Later that evening, Commander Davis walked through the quiet corridors of the Earth Embassy section. The lights were dimmed to simulate night, though in space there was no true day or night. His communication device beeped softly. "Secure channel established," said a computerized voice. "Identity confirmed. Commander Thomas Davis." The screen lit up to show the stern face of General Hall, one of the few remaining military leaders on Earth. "Commander, we have a situation developing. The Star Hunters are mobilizing." Davis stepped into his office and sealed the door. "Ambassador Reed warned the Council today, but they dismissed her concerns." "The Council has grown complacent," General Hall said. "They've enjoyed peace for so long they don't recognize the signs of coming war." "What are my orders?" Davis asked. "Access the embassy's secure vault. Authorization code. Leonidas." Davis felt his pulse quicken. That code name was only used for the highest level emergencies. "Understood. What am I looking for?" "Documents related to the sleeping giant contingency. It's time to dust them off." 30 minutes later, Davis stood in the embassy's most secure room, a small chamber deep within the structure, shielded against all forms of surveillance. Before him lay a simple metal box, open to reveal paper documents. Actual paper, not digital files that could be hacked or corrupted. The heading on the top page read, Sleeping Giant Contingency, Protocol for Reactivation of Earth's Defensive Capabilities in Case of Existential Threat. Davis read through the documents with growing amazement. For decades he had believed, like most humans, that Earth had truly embraced peace to the point of near defenselessness. The truth was far different. Earth's apparent shift to arts and sciences had been genuine, but it had not come at the expense of defensive capability. Instead, military technology had been integrated into civilian infrastructure, disguised as art installations, research facilities, and cultural centers. Weapons systems were hidden within seemingly benign structures. Ships designed for scientific research could transform into battle-ready vessels. And most importantly, military training had never ceased. It had merely been rebranded as emergency response preparation and intensive physical cultural practices. A soft knock at the door made Davis look up. Admiral Gray stood there, his face grave. "You've been briefed," Gray said. "It wasn't a question." "You knew about this," Davis replied, holding up the documents. "All this time while playing the role of cultural liaison." Gray nodded. "Some of us needed to remember the old ways just in case. I was never truly retired. I've been watching, especially the Star Hunters. They've never really accepted the peace." "Why keep this secret from our own people?" Davis asked. "Because peace had to be genuine to work," Gray explained. "Humans embraced art and science wholeheartedly. That wasn't a lie. But some of us remembered history too well to believe it would last forever." Davis's communication device beeped again. A message appeared. "Star Hunter vessels have entered Earth, colony space. 3 research outposts have gone silent." Gray's expression hardened. "It's beginning." "What do we do now?" Davis asked. "Now," Gray said, "we show them what they've forgotten about humans." He touched his own communicator. "Send the message. Authentication Gray Alpha 7. Message reads, activation code, remember Thermopylae." Davis looked puzzled. "Thermopylae? An ancient battle," Gray explained, his eyes distant, "where a small force held back an overwhelming enemy through skill and determination." He looked directly at Davis. "The Star Hunters think we've forgotten how to fight. They're about to learn how wrong they are." Outside the window of the embassy, the stars shone coldly in the blackness of space, unaware of the storm that was about to break across the galaxy. Captain Miller stood on the bridge of the ERS Galileo, a vessel classified as a deep space research ship. It was the only human ship within range of Colony Delta, one of Earth's newer settlements. The colony was home to 3,000 people, mostly scientists and their families. Miller was a short man with weathered skin and quick eyes. His uniform bore the patches of Earth's science fleet, showing a telescope and stars rather than any military insignia. "Captain," called his communications officer, a young woman named Parker, "we're picking up unusual signals, multiple ships entering the system." Miller's face showed no surprise, only grim acceptance. "Time to shed the mask, Parker. Send the alert to the colony. Code Sleeping Giant." Parker looked startled. "Sir, that's a military code. We're a research vessel." Miller gave her a patient look. "Are we? Open Weapons Locker 5 and enter your authorization." Confused, Parker did as ordered. The locker, which supposedly held advanced scanning equipment, slid open to reveal military-grade weapon harnesses. "The Galileo has been a wolf in sheep's clothing for 15 years. Miller explained as the bridge crew stared in shock. "Now the sheep's clothing comes off." He pressed his palm against a hidden scanner beside his command chair. Throughout the ship, panels slid open, revealing weapon stations. The smooth hull of the Galileo began to change as defensive plating extended outward, and hidden weapon ports opened like eyes waking from sleep. "All crew battle stations," Miller ordered. "This is not a drill." On the main view screen, 3 Star Hunter vessels appeared, shaped like jagged arrowheads, their hulls gleaming with a dull metallic sheen. They were warships built for one purpose only. Colony Delta reports 3 more Star Hunter ships on their side, Parker said, her voice steadier now as her training took over. They're asking for orders. Tell them to activate deep shelter protocols, Miller replied, and to remember their training. We'll buy them time. On Ganymede, the largest moon of Jupiter and home to Earth's biggest research installation outside of Earth itself, Dr. Bell received the emergency transmission from Earth Command. She sat alone in her office, staring at the message on her screen. Sleeping Giant Protocol activated. Bell was a tall woman with graying hair and hands that looked like they belonged to someone who worked with machines, not the pristine lab tools of a scientist. She opened a drawer in her desk that had remained locked for the 5 years she had served as director of the station. Inside was a simple metal key. She stood up and walked quickly through the corridors of the research station until she reached a door marked Environmental Systems, authorized personnel only. Using the key, she entered a room filled with humming machinery. At the back wall was a large red panel with the words, Emergency Use Only. Bell placed her hand on a scanner beside the panel. Authorization, Bell, Eleanor. Activation phrase, the sword is mightier when sheathed until needed. The panel slid aside to reveal a large chamber beyond. Inside were rows of what looked like sleek mechanical suits standing in storage racks, along with weapons that no peaceful research station should possess. Bell picked up a communication device. Attention all Ganymede personnel, this is Director Bell. The Sleeping Giant Protocol has been activated. All section leaders report to your designated areas. This is not a drill. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Research stations revealed hidden armories. Civilian administrators accessed secure protocols. Art installations that decorated space stations and colony worlds began to transform, revealing weapon systems and defensive capabilities. On Earth, in an underground facility beneath what appeared to be nothing more than a public park, General Stone received reports. From across human space, 3 colonies under direct attack, reported his aide. Star Hunter forces have hit New Eden, Delta, and Proxima colonies simultaneously. Stone was an older man with close-cropped white hair and the bearing of someone who had carried heavy responsibility for many years. Casualties? Minimal so far. The early warning systems worked. Most colonists made it to shelters before the attacks began. And our response capabilities? The aide displayed a holographic map showing green dots representing human installations. One by one, many of the dots changed from green to blue. Reactivation at 83% and climbing. Sleeping Giant Protocol proceeding faster than projected. Stone allowed himself a small nod of satisfaction. Let's hope we've remembered everything we pretended to forget. In space near Colony Delta, Captain Miller's research vessel faced 3 Star Hunter warships that outsized it significantly. The enemy ships surrounded the Galileo in a triangle formation designed to trap it. They're hailing us, Parker reported. Put them through, Miller ordered. The screen lit up to show the face of War Chief Dax of the Star Hunters. His gray, ridged face showed smug confidence. Human vessel, Dax said. Your colony is now under Star Hunter control. Power down your engines, and prepare to be boarded. Miller straightened in his chair. This is Captain James Miller of the Earth research ship Galileo. We are a peaceful vessel on a scientific mission. Why have you entered Earth space with warships? Dax made a sound that might have been laughter. Your peaceful ways have made you weak, human. The Star Hunter Empire expands once more, beginning with your vulnerable colonies. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Miller shook his head. You've made a serious mistake, War Chief. Have I? Dax sneered. 1 small research ship against 3 battle cruisers. What mistake could I possibly have made? Miller smiled for the first time. You believed our cover story. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Battle stations, weapons hot. Show them what a research vessel can do. The Galileo's hidden weapon systems came fully online. What had appeared to be sensor arrays reconfigured into pulse cannons. The ship's engines, designed to look like standard civilian drives, revealed their true power as they flared with energy far beyond what a research vessel should possess. Target their weapon systems, Miller ordered. Disable, don't destroy if possible. The first shots from the Galileo struck with surprising precision, catching the Star Hunter vessels off guard. Their shields flared as they absorbed energy they hadn't expected to face. Back on Earth, General Stone received another report. Sir, we're getting distress calls from all 3 attacked colonies. The Star Hunters didn't expect resistance. Our hidden defenses are holding for now, but they won't last without reinforcement. Stone nodded. Send in the reserve fleet. His aide looked uncomfortable. Sir, according to official records, we don't have a reserve fleet. Stone smiled thinly. Exactly according to plan. Transmit these coordinates to all command staff. He handed over a data chip. The fleet is there, hidden in plain sight for over 20 years. In orbit around Saturn, disguised as an orbital art installation and research platform, Earth's hidden fleet waited. 50 ships of various sizes, all officially listed as either decommissioned, destroyed in training accidents, or never built in the first place. Admiral Gray, having left the Alliance hub via emergency transport, stepped onto the bridge of the flagship, a vessel called Remembrance. Status report, he ordered. All ships powered up and ready, Admiral, replied the officer on duty. Crews at battle stations, weapons and shields at full capacity. Gray took his place in the command chair. Set course for Colony Delta. Maximum speed. The Star Hunters wanted to see if humans remember how to fight. His eyes narrowed. Let's show them that we do. Across human space, the message spread. Sleeping Giant Protocol activated. On 1,000 screens, in 1,000 locations, those words appeared. And humans who had lived peaceful lives as scientists, artists, and colonists reached for hidden weapons and remembered their other training. The training they had hoped never to use again. The war had begun. President West stood at the window of her office in the Earth Leadership Center, watching as the formerly peaceful city around her transformed. For a century, this building had been a center for arts, culture, and peaceful governance. Now, hidden, systems hummed to life as the structure revealed its other purpose. West was a short woman with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that had seen many worlds. She had been elected as a peacetime leader, someone who could guide Earth's cultural and scientific growth. Now she would show the world her other skills. Madam President, said her aide, entering the room quickly, the Alliance Council is requesting an emergency meeting. They're demanding an explanation for the sudden appearance of a human battle fleet. West nodded without turning from the window. Tell them I'll address the full council in 1 hour. And the Star Hunter attacks? Admiral Gray and the fleet are responding. General Stone has activated all defensive measures at the colonies. It's time for Phase 2. She finally turned, her expression resolute. Activate the Earth defense grid. Across the planet, in every major city, structures that had been admired as beautiful examples of human art and architecture began to change. In New York, the towering Peace Spire, built to commemorate Earth's joining of the Galactic Alliance, split along hidden seams to reveal a massive energy cannon aimed at the sky. In Beijing, the famous water gardens drained in seconds as the EIE pools transformed into launch pads for defense craft. In Lagos, the sprawling art complex restructured itself into a command center for Earth's Southern Hemisphere defenses. At the Alliance hub, Commander Davis now wore a different uniform, no longer the diplomatic blue of Earth's peacekeepers, but the dark gray of Earth Defense Forces, with rank insignia that had not been seen in public for decades. This is an outrage, shouted the Star Hunter representative in the emergency council session. Humans have deceived the Alliance. They claimed to have dismantled their military. Davis stood calmly before the angry council. We never claimed that. We said we embraced peace and reduced our military presence. Both statements were true. The chair being's containment sphere bubbled furiously. You maintained hidden military capabilities. You violated the spirit of Alliance transparency. Did we? Davis asked. The Alliance Charter guarantees each member the right to self-defense. It does not require members to publicly disclose all defensive measures. Your ships are attacking Star Hunter vessels, the Star Hunter representative snarled. Your ships invaded Earth colonies and fired first, Davis replied evenly. Our vessels are defending human lives. We have the sensor logs to prove it. In deep space, the battle near Colony Delta had taken an unexpected turn. Captain Miller's research vessel had not only survived the initial confrontation with 3 Star Hunter warships, but had managed to disable the weapons on one of them. War Chief Dax stared at his tactical display in disbelief. "How is this possible? Their ship is half our size." "Sir," reported his weapons officer, "their targeting systems are far more precise than our intelligence suggested. They're hitting exactly the same spot on our shields repeatedly, creating weakness points." "Bring the secondary cannons online," Dax ordered. "Surround and destroy them." As the Star Hunter ships adjusted their formation, a new alert sounded. "Multiple ships entering the system," called the sensor operator, his voice rising in alarm. 50. No, more. They're everywhere." On the main screen, Dax watched as human vessels appeared from multiple directions. Some of them he recognized as ships that had been officially decommissioned years ago. Others were completely unfamiliar. Admiral Gray's voice came over the communication system. "Star Hunter vessels, this is Admiral James Gray of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have attacked Earth colonies without provocation. Power down your weapons and withdraw, or we will be forced to respond with appropriate measures." Dax snarled. "Where did this fleet come from? Earth has no military fleet." His second-in-command looked shaken. "Sir, these ships, they match nothing in our intelligence files. Their energy signatures are beyond anything we've seen from humans before." On Earth, President West stood before a global broadcast system. Her face appeared on screens across human space, on colonies, research stations, and ships. The message was also being transmitted to the Alliance Hub and all member worlds. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies," she began, her voice steady and clear. "Today the Star Hunter Empire launched unprovoked attacks against 3 of our colonies. These attacks have been met with resistance, and I am pleased to report that our defensive measures have held. The attackers have suffered significant losses, and Earth forces are now moving to secure all human settlements." She paused, her expression grave. "For a century, humanity has embraced peace. We have built art, advanced science, and worked in harmony with the Galactic Alliance. This was not a deception. Our commitment to peace was and remains genuine." Images appeared beside her, human colonies, research stations, and the great cultural achievements of the past century. "However," West continued, "we have not forgotten our history. We have not forgotten that peace must sometimes be defended. When we reduced our visible military presence, we did not abandon our ability to protect ourselves. We simply integrated it more deeply into who we are." The images changed to show the transformed structures across Earth and the colonies. Art installations revealing defensive capabilities, research vessels deploying weapons, scientists picking up arms with practiced ease. "For a century, we have maintained peace, cultivated art, and advanced science," President West said, her voice growing stronger. "We have not, however, forgotten war. We hoped never to need these capabilities again. The Star Hunters have forced our hand." At the Alliance Hub, representatives from dozens of worlds watched the broadcast in stunned silence. "She's telling the truth," Commander Davis said to the Council. "Earth chose peace, but we prepared for the possibility that others might not. Respect that choice. We didn't hide weapons. We integrated defense into everything we built. We didn't maintain a standing army. We trained all our people to defend themselves if needed." On the Star Hunter homeworld, High Elder Vex received War Chief Dax's urgent transmission. "We've lost contact with the attack fleet at Colony Delta," Dax reported, his image flickering with interference. "The human ships, they're not what we expected. Their weapons technology is far beyond our intelligence reports." "That's impossible," Vex said. "Our spies have monitored their shipyards for decades. They build research vessels and civilian transports, not warships." "The vessels we're facing were disguised," Dax replied. "Some appear to be ships that were supposedly scrapped years ago. Others," he hesitated. "Others seem to be entirely new designs we've never seen before." "What about their crews?" Vex demanded. "Humans have been artists and scientists for generations. They cannot have trained warriors to crew these ships. That's just it, Dax said, his voice dropping. Their tactics suggest otherwise. They're not fighting like novices, Elder. They're executing complex battle maneuvers with perfect precision. It's as if... As if what? Vex growled. As if they never stopped training for war at all, Dax finished. The humans weren't pretending to be peaceful. They were practicing restraint. As the battle spread across human space, the Alliance Council remained in emergency session. Reports flooded in from observers, human forces emerging from hiding across a dozen systems, responding with coordinated precision to the Star Hunter attacks. This changes everything, the representative from Proxima Centauri said quietly. For a century, we believed the humans had set aside their warrior past. They did, Commander Davis replied. But they didn't forget it. There's a difference. On the bridge of the Remembrance, Admiral Gray watched as the Star Hunter ships began to retreat from Colony Delta. Should we pursue, Admiral? Asked his second-in-command. Gray shook his head. No. We defend, we secure, but we don't conquer. That's the difference between us and them. He turned to the communications officer. Send word to all human forces. The sleeping giant is awake. Operation Shield Wall is now in effect. Across human space, the message spread. The time for hiding was over. The time for defending had begun. 3 days after the initial Star Hunter attacks, Admiral Gray stood on the bridge of the Remembrance, studying the tactical display that showed the positions of both human and Star Hunter forces across the galaxy. The initial surprise of human military readiness had given Earth forces a significant advantage, but the Star Hunters were regrouping. Status report, Gray ordered. His tactical officer, a woman named Reeves, adjusted the display. All human colonies are secure, Admiral. The Star Hunters have pulled back to these positions. She indicated several star systems near the border of Star Hunter space. They appear to be calling in reinforcements from their inner territories. Gray nodded. And our forces? Fully deployed and at combat readiness. The civilian conversion is 98% complete. The civilian conversion was perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Earth's response. Throughout human territory, people who had lived as artists, scientists, and teachers for decades had smoothly transitioned to their secondary roles as trained military personnel. It wasn't that they had been pretending to be civilians. They truly were civilians, but with military training maintained through what had been disguised as cultural practices and sports. Admiral, called the communications officer. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. President West is calling a war council. An hour later, the leaders of Earth's defense gathered via secure holographic link. President West sat at the center, with General Stone, Admiral Gray, and other key commanders arranged around her. The time has come for Phase 3, West said without preamble. The Star Hunters believe they have retreated to safe territory to regroup. They expect us to fortify and defend. They do not expect us to strike. A counteroffensive? Asked General Stone. Into Star Hunter territory? Precisely, West replied. Admiral Gray will lead our main battle fleet in a direct approach to demonstrate our force. Meanwhile, Captain Miller will take a smaller, faster group to infiltrate their command structure. Gray looked thoughtful. The Star Hunters are natural warriors. They will fight fiercely to defend their homeworlds. Which is why we will not target their homeworlds, West said firmly. We don't fight to dominate. We fight to end fighting. Our targets are military installations only, no civilian centers. At the edge of Star Hunter territory, Captain Miller prepared his team for their mission. The Galileo had been joined by 5 other vessels, all similarly disguised as research ships but packed with advanced technology. Your target is here, Miller said, pointing to a location on the star map. The Star Hunter Central Command Station. Our intelligence suggests it coordinates all their military activities. How do we get past their defenses? Asked Lieutenant Reyes, his second-in-command. Miller smiled. The same way we've gotten past them for decades, by not looking like a threat. The plan was as elegant as it was daring. While Admiral Gray's fleet would launch an obvious attack on Star Hunter military outposts, drawing their main forces into battle, Miller's ships would approach the command station under the guise of a neutral scientific expedition from one of the smaller Alliance races. The Star Hunters, focused on the main human fleet, would likely pay little attention to what appeared to be harmless research vessels. Remember, Miller told his crew, our goal isn't destruction. It's the deployment of the Pax Protocol. The Pax Protocol was the culmination of a century of human scientific advancement. Turned to a purpose? No, one had expected. Not a weapon of mass destruction, but rather its opposite, a system designed to disable rather than destroy. On the Star Hunter homeworld, High Elder Vex called his war council together. The chamber was filled with the galaxy's most feared warriors, their bodies marked with the scars of countless battles. The humans have revealed their deception, Vex growled. They maintained military capability in secret while pretending to embrace peace. War Chief Dax, who had barely escaped the battle at Colony Delta, stood with his head slightly bowed. Elder, I must correct you. Based on my observations, the humans were not pretending. They truly did embrace arts, science, and peaceful cooperation. Then explain their military response, Vex demanded. They did both, Dax said simply. They became a peaceful species that maintained the ability to defend itself. They integrated defense into every aspect of their society rather than keeping it separate. Another war chief slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. One cannot be both warrior and poet. The humans have proved otherwise, Dax insisted, and that makes them more dangerous than we thought. They don't fight with the blind aggression of warriors who know nothing else. They fight with the precision and creativity of scientists who understand exactly what they're doing. As if to punctuate his words, alarms began to sound throughout the chamber. Human fleet detected, called the sensor operator. Multiple vessels approaching our outer defense perimeter. Vex bared his teeth. So they think they can bring the fight to us? Deploy the battle fleet. Show them what true warriors can do, as EC. The Star Hunter fleet moved to intercept Admiral Gray's approaching forces. Engineer Taylor worked deep within the human flagship Remembrance. Taylor was a slender person with quick hands and a mind that could visualize complex systems in an instant. For decades, they had been known as the designer of Earth's most beautiful orbital habitats. Few knew that those same habitats contained some of humanity's most advanced defensive systems. Status of the Pax Protocol? Gray asked, speaking through the ship's communication system. Final calibrations complete, Taylor replied, hands moving over a complex array of controls. The delivery systems are ready on all ships, but Admiral, we need to be closer to their central communication hub for maximum effectiveness. That's Captain Miller's job, Gray responded. Our job is to keep their attention on us. The human and Star Hunter fleets met in the blackness of space near the edge of Star Hunter territory. Energy weapons flashed between ships, shields flared as they absorbed impacts, and smaller craft darted between the larger vessels like insects swarming. To observers from the Alliance, who watched, from a safe distance, it was immediately clear that the human ships were fighting differently than the Star Hunters. Where the alien vessels fired with maximum power at any target they could hit, human weapons struck with surgical precision, targeting weapon systems, engines, and sensors, while avoiding areas where crews would be concentrated. They're not trying to destroy the ships, noted the Proximan observer. They're trying to disable them. Meanwhile, Captain Miller's small fleet of disguised vessels approached the Star Hunter command station from a different vector. Their transponders identified them as scientific ships from the Tendril Nebula Collective, a minor Alliance member known for its non-interference policies. We're being hailed, Lieutenant Reyes reported. Respond with the prepared message, Miller ordered. Remember, we're neutral scientists concerned about the conflict affecting our research areas. The ruse worked. With their attention focused on Admiral Gray's approaching fleet, the Star Hunter command station gave only cursory attention to the small group of research vessels requesting temporary safe harbor in their space. We're in position, Miller told his crew once they had been granted permission to maintain orbit around the station. Prepare the Pax Protocol for deployment. On the bridge of his flagship, War Chief Dax watched the battle with growing concern. The human vessels moved with a coordination he had never seen before, seeming to anticipate his fleet's maneuvers before they executed them. They're hurting us, he realized suddenly, forcing our ships into this specific formation. Sir, called his communications officer, we're picking up an unusual transmission from the command station, some kind of interference. Before Dax could respond, every system on his ship flickered. Throughout the Star Hunter fleet, the same thing happened as the Pax Protocol activated. Not destroying their systems, but temporarily reconfiguring them, locking out weapon controls while maintaining life support and basic functions. On the BID command station, Captain Miller's team had successfully deployed the core of the protocol directly into the Star Hunter Central Communication Network. From there, it spread to every connected Star Hunter ship and base. This, Miller said quietly as he watched the Star Hunter ships go still in space, weapons powered down, is how humans fight a war in the 22nd century, not with destruction, but with control. High Elder Vex stared at the reports coming in from across Star Hunter space. In a matter of hours, the entirety of the Star Hunter military had been neutralized, not destroyed, but rendered temporarily harmless. How? He demanded of his advisors. How could they do this? There was no answer. The Star Hunters, who had spent generations perfecting the art of destruction, had never considered the possibility that true power might lie in choosing not to destroy when you had the ability to do so. Admiral Gray opened a channel to all Star Hunter vessels. This is Admiral James Gray of Earth Defense Forces. Your weapons have been temporarily disabled. Your life support and basic systems remain functional. We have no desire to harm your people or occupy your worlds. We seek only an end to hostilities and recognition of human sovereignty. He paused, then added, when we are satisfied that peace has been restored, the effects of our protocol will be reversed. The choice of what happens next is yours. 3 days after the deployment of the Pax Protocol, representatives of Earth and the Star Hunter Empire met aboard the Galactic Alliance's neutral diplomatic vessel. The large circular chamber was designed to accommodate beings from all member species, with sections adjusted for different gravity needs and atmospheric requirements. President West entered with a small delegation that included Admiral Gray and Commander Davis. They took their places at one side of the central table. Across from them, High Elder Vex led the Star Hunter representatives, his normally imposing presence somehow diminished by recent events. The chair being of the Alliance Council floated in its containment sphere at the head of the table. This emergency session will now begin. The conflict between Earth and the Star Hunter Empire has caused great concern throughout the Alliance. We are here to negotiate a peaceful resolution. President West spoke first. The terms of Earth are simple. The Star Hunter Empire will withdraw all forces from human territory, recognize the sovereignty of all human settlements, and agree to a non-aggression pact for a minimum of 50 years. In return, we will remove the Pax Protocol from all Star Hunter systems and vessels. High Elder Vex's ridged face showed no emotion, but his voice carried a note of barely contained anger. You humiliated the proud warriors of the Star Hunter Empire. You neutralized our forces without even granting us the honor of true combat. We granted you the honor of survival, Admiral Gray replied calmly. We could have destroyed your ships and bases. We chose not to. Why? Vex demanded. If you maintained such military capability, why hide it behind art and science? Why pretend to be peaceful when you could have been feared? President West leaned forward. Because we did not want to be feared. Earth chose peace a century ago, not out of weakness but out of wisdom. We learned from our history that societies built on fear and military might eventually destroy themselves. We wanted something better. Yet you maintained weapons, Vex pointed out. We maintained the ability to defend ourselves, West corrected. There is a difference. We hoped never to need these capabilities. You forced our hand. Commander Davis added, the Pax Protocol itself demonstrates our approach. It was designed specifically to disable without destroying. No Star Hunter lives were lost in its deployment. The discussion continued for hours, with representatives from other alliance worlds occasionally interjecting. Many expressed shock or concern about Earth's hidden military capabilities, while others seemed impressed by the restraint humans had shown in victory. Finally, High Elder Vex spoke with what appeared to be genuine curiosity. "I still do not understand. You speak of peace yet prepared for war. You fight without destroying. These concepts are contradictory to Star Hunter thinking." President West smiled slightly. "Perhaps that is why we won. In the end, the Star Hunter Empire accepted Earth's terms. They had little choice. Their military remained neutralized by the Pax Protocol, and the Alliance Council, having reviewed the evidence, had concluded that the Star Hunters were the clear aggressors in the conflict. After the formal agreement was signed, High Elder Vex approached Admiral Gray in a quiet corner of the chamber. "You could have destroyed us," Vex said bluntly. "Why didn't you?" Gray studied the alien leader for a moment before answering. "Destruction is easy. Creation is hard. Humans spent centuries perfecting destruction before we realized it was a dead end. We chose a different path. And that path includes hiding weapons as art." There was a hint of bitterness in Vex's voice. "Not hiding," Gray corrected. "Integrating. We didn't want to be defined by our weapons, so we made them part of something larger, something better. Our defense systems are beautiful because we wanted everything we create to be beautiful, even the tools we hope never to use." Vex seemed to contemplate this. "My people know only the glory of conquest. We have been warriors for thousands of years. What else could we be?" "That," Gray said quietly, "is for you to discover." A week later, Ambassador Reed addressed the full Galactic Alliance Council. The chamber was packed with representatives from every member world, all eager to hear Earth's explanation for the events that had transpired. "Honorable Council," Reed began, "Earth comes before you today to address concerns about our actions during the recent conflict. Some have accused us of deception for maintaining military capabilities while presenting ourselves as a peaceful society. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of our approach." She activated a holographic display showing images of Earth's transformed cities, where defensive systems had once again been concealed within beautiful architecture and art installations. Earth did not deceive the Alliance. We truly did embrace peace, art, and scientific advancement. We did reduce our military presence throughout the galaxy. What we did not do was abandon our responsibility to protect our people. The display shifted to show human colonies, where life was already returning to normal. Scientists resumed their research, artists returned to their creations, and children played in parks that had briefly served as defensive positions. The Star Hunters believed that our commitment to peace meant we had forgotten how to fight. They were wrong. We had not forgotten. We had evolved. We learned to integrate defense into our society without letting it dominate. We learned that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the ability to protect what matters while preserving what is good. In the viewing gallery, Admiral Gray watched with approval. Beside him stood Captain Miller and Engineer Taylor, both now returned to their primary roles as explorer and artist, respectively. Their military uniforms had been replaced by civilian clothes, though the confidence and discipline of their training remained evident in their bearing. "Will it last?" Miller asked quietly. "The peace?" Gray considered the question. "It will if we work at it. The Star Hunters have been shown that aggression has consequences. The Alliance has been reminded that peace requires vigilance, and we have demonstrated that humanity can be both peaceful and strong." On the Star Hunter homeworld, High Elder Vex walked through a gallery where human art was being displayed for the first time. The pieces had been sent as a gesture of goodwill following the peace agreement. Many Star Hunters viewed the exhibit with confusion or disdain. Art was not valued in their warrior culture. But Vex found himself drawn to a large sculpture that dominated the central hall. It appeared to be an abstract representation of two hands, one open in offering, the other closed in a protective gesture around a small globe that resembled Earth. A plaque beside it bore a simple inscription: "The choice between creation and destruction defines who we are." Vex stood before the sculpture for a long time, contemplating its meaning. Finally, he turned to his aide. "Contact the human ambassador. I wish to discuss cultural exchange programs." 6 months after the conflict ended, President West stood, with Admiral Gray on the observation deck of the Remembrance, now orbiting Earth as a museum rather than a warship. Below them, the planet shimmered blue and green and white, peaceful once more. The defensive systems are being reintegrated into the city designs, West said. Most people will forget they're even there until they're needed again. Will they be needed again? Gray asked. West smiled slightly. I hope not, but hope is not a strategy. We maintain what we must, even as we build what we want. Gray nodded in understanding. The Star Hunters are changing, slowly, but changing. Their younger generation seems particularly interested in human culture and ideas. And the Alliance? They've proposed new transparency guidelines, Gray replied. But they've also recognized Earth's right to maintain defensive capabilities. I think they finally understand our philosophy. A young officer approached them, stopping respectfully at a distance until West beckoned him forward. Excuse me, Madam President Admiral, the officer said. The new cadets have arrived for the tour. Gray turned to face a group of young people, human and alien alike, who waited nearby. They were the first class of a new academy, established to train both military officers and peacekeepers together. Humans didn't forget how to fight, Gray told them as they gathered around. We just learned there are better ways to win, but when necessary, we remember. The young faces looked up at him with interest and respect, representatives of a new generation that might understand what the older ones had struggled to grasp. That true strength comes not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to know when not to. Above them, Earth continued its peaceful orbit around the sun, its defenses once again hidden but never forgotten, a sleeping giant that had awakened once and would do so again if needed, but only if needed. And in that, balance lay humanity's greatest victory.